Alright guys, today's goal, the learner will understand how to simplify rational expressions. A rational expression is an expression that can be written as a ratio of two polynomials where the denominator is not 0. So first problem, find the excluded values, if any, of the expression. So that's what we need to do. We need to find the excluded values. Okay? So let's take a look at the first one here. Well, it says the denominator is not 0. So take the denominator. Can we make it equal 0? Add the 5. Divide by 3. So x equals 5/3. But it says find the excluded value. So that means x cannot equal 5/3. Okay. Now comes your favorite part, guys, the factoring. So 5y squared plus 2y plus 3 equals 0. Now, if you're struggling a little bit with the factoring, you can use the quadratic formula for this part, but when we go to simplify these later, you will not be able to. So remember, I'm going to write out a little bit longer way, but what you do is a times c. So 5 times, so a times c, 5 times 3. So you get 15. They have to add to equal b, 2. Is there anything that would multiply to a positive 15 and add to equal positive 2? No. So guess what? There are no excluded values from this. There's no possible way to make that denominator equal 0. Okay? So let's look at the next one then. So you have 2x squared minus 5x minus 12 equals 0. A times c is negative 24. So it has to multiply to negative 24 and add to negative 5. So you get negative 8 and positive 3. So you have 2x and x, because it's got to be 2x squared. Now negative 8. Well, 2 times negative 4 is negative 8. Positive 3. Now this is what we have to check. Is 3 times negative 4, does that still equal this? Yes. And 2 negative, so that's what it is, and it equals 0. Now you set each factor equal to 0. And you solve it. Minus 3. Divide by 2. Add the 4. So x cannot equal negative 3/2 and x cannot equal 4. There's your two excluded values. So there can be more than one. Okay, so hopefully that's not too bad. But that's what's going on. We have to be able to factor. So now we're going to look and see, can we simplify expressions like that? So simplify the rational expression. So let's just take a look at the first two. Here, it's just like simplifying a fraction. So how many times does 2 go into 4? Twice. How many times does 2 go into 22? 11. All three of those would cancel out. You'd be left with 3 on the bottom. So there it is. Is there an excluded value? Well, 22, 8 to the 6th equals 0. Divide by 22. 8 to the 6th equals 0. Take the 6th root. Well, the 6th root of 0 is 0, so a cannot be 0. So there's the simplified. There's the excluded value. Alright, over here, let's just take care of that excluded value since it pops out at you. So we know y cannot be negative 5. Is there any way I can simplify this? Nope, because nothing has anything in common, and it can't be factored. Okay? So we have our excluded value, we have it simplified, so you're done with that one. Alright, so now let's take care of the excluded value. Those, I'm really hoping, are difficult. Set the denominator equals 0, solve. Now we have to factor. So let's see. Factor the top, you can factor out 2m. You're left with m plus 4. From the bottom, you can factor out a 3. You're left with m plus 4. See how you have the m plus 4 on the top and bottom? You get 2m divided by 3. Now notice, we are still saying m cannot equal negative 4, because even though it got canceled out, it is still a piece of that. You always have to find the excluded value first. Okay? So so when it's the same thing on the top and bottom and only multiplication, you can cancel out. Okay, so let's try another page. Alright, simplify the rational expression. So here you got to multiply the top and bottom. So you have to ask yourself, what multiplies to 2? Because 1 times 2 and adds to 3. Well, 2 and 1. So the top would go x plus 2, x plus 1. And the bottom, what multiplies to 10 and adds to 7? 5 and 2. Now that we have excuse me, now that we have it factored, take the denominator, set each of the factors equal to 0, solve it, so now we know x cannot equal 5, x cannot, so there's a piece of it right there. Okay? Now go back over. Do they have anything in common yet? X plus 2, so those are gone. So this would simplify to x plus 1, x plus 5. Okay? Alright, now you guys go ahead and try the next one. Hit pause. Attempt this one on your own. Alright, so hopefully you attempted this. So now this is maybe a little tricky, but you go, what multiplies to negative 5, because 5 times negative 1, and adds to 4. So multiplies negative 5 as a positive 4. Positive 5. That one. So positive 5 we use 5 and 1, you get positive 5, negative 1. Okay, what multiplies to negative 10 and adds to negative 3? Negative 5, positive 2. Alright, so remember, before you keep going, you go z minus 5 equals 0, z plus 2 equals 0, So z equals 5, z equals -2. So there's our two excluded values. Now, these, if we go back over here, this one, the 5 minus z and the z minus 5 look almost the same. So what you can do is when that happens, see how the 5 and the z, we want that z to be first. So first thing, flip it. So instead of 5 minus z, you would write -z plus 5. And then here's z plus 1. And then you still have z minus 5. Z plus 2. See how the z's and the 5's are opposite? That means factor out a -1 from the top. Oop. Whoa, I don't know what I just did. Hold on. Alright, well, something just happened not so good there, but we'll move on. Redo. So when we move this around, you get -z plus 5, and then you get z plus 1, z minus 5, z plus 2. Now this top one you can factor out a negative, so factor out a negative and you get z minus 5, because negative divided by negative, positive. So right here, -z divided by -1, z. 5 divided by -1, -5. That's why. Now look. See how those are now the same? So we cancel those out. So we're left with -z plus 1 over z plus 2. And our excluded values. Okay, guys, if you need to replay the last couple examples and see what happens. So, alright. There's your problem for homework. Bring it in completed. See you guys tomorrow.